Hey everybody, what's up? This is Biohazard Queen here. I was I've been told months back, that after I did this challenge of watching all the Freddy Krueger movies, all the Jason movies, and to follow it all up in the end with watching Freddy versus Jason, I was asked to do well, I wouldn't call it a recap, but I just call it like my opinion on it, like a review in its own way. But anyway, so I would like to go ahead and say thank you for subscribing to my channel, and please continue to do so if you want to. Anyway, so yeah, growing up, of course, I was always into horror movies, and I didn't watch Nightmare on Elm Street. My dad didn't want me to, not because of me being scared or he thought I was going to be scared. He just didn't want me watching Freddy Krueger or anything because, he wanted me to be a Jason, Team Jason. And Jason's cool, like, so, anyway. But Freddy Krueger, like, my dad just didn't want me to get into the Freddy stuff. He just did not want me to have anything to do with Freddy Krueger. So, I ended up watching Nightmare on Elm Street when I was about, I don't know, maybe in my preteen years. I'm 35 now, so anyway, I watched that, and I really didn't get into it, and then as I got older, I have learned to go back and rewatch movies that I didn't really get into when I was a kid or younger because, well, for various reasons. It's very rare I see a horror movie I don't like, but this was one of the movies that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have a day where I'm going to binge watch. Well, not in one day, but I don't have that kind of time. But anyway, I was like, I'm going to binge watch all the Freddys, and then when I'm done watching them, I'm going to do Jason's. Then I'm going to follow it up with Freddy versus Jason. Okay, so I've always liked Freddy versus Jason, but that's another time. But anyway, the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1, I am like a Freddy Krueger fan. He's definitely going to be up there on my top list of horror movie killers that are like totally awesome, in my opinion. And what I like about it, I like the story of it. It's different. It's something different. And of course, I'm an 80s fan, and I'm especially an 80s horror fan. And hey, a rom-com 80s fan. So, anyway, Freddy Krueger he was so cool in that. Well, Robert Englund is good in like everything he plays in. He has played in a bunch of other horror movies, so people say, well, do you know him in anything other than Nightmare on Elm Street? I'm like, please, you got a minute to sit down because I got a list. So, anyway, I've always been a Robert Englund fan, even before recently becoming a Freddy Krueger fan. So, I would really like to acknowledge the fact that the character Nancy, she is a cool final girl, I feel like the actress that played her got better with the acting skills, though, later on. But I still think she was a cool actress. Okay, so, anyway, I had to pause this video because I had a phone call. Bad timing. But yeah, the actress that plays Nancy, she is super cool. And just like on the new Nightmare, Wes Craven's, her acting, she was already a good actress in the original Freddy movie, but she became even more of a better actress in the new Nightmare, Either way, it is what it is. Okay, so yeah, like totally awesome. And hey, those, iconic pajamas, that she wore or is known for wearing in the movie, those are cool. And so yeah, a lot of the cool stuff. There were so many fun facts. I watched a couple of documentaries where they were recapping everything about Freddy Krueger movies, and they had like a lot of fun facts in this one. And plus, I really think it's awesome that Joe Unger, who played in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which was my first horror movie ever. I think it's so cool that Joe Unger played in that, even though he had a short cameo in Nightmare on Elm Street. And I didn't recognize it was him without his iconic facial hair, but when he talked, yeah, I could tell then, especially with them, interesting eyes. He's got like cat eyes almost. And I think it's like really cool. The whole cast in there in general was really cool. I mean, you had Lynn Shay in there, and that was awesome. I mean, that chick plays in awesome movies. And I loved her and Robert Englund in the remake of 2001 Maniacs. Like, I've seen that movie like 100 times. They make the coolest couple. But there's just, like I said, this is just a long cast, and I really, there's just some, the cast in Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm not just talking about Johnny Depp, which I like him. I'm talking about, like, just the whole cast in general. They've done so much other amazing work just as well as Nightmare on Elm Street. So it's really cool to see them when they're young. Anyways, I think it's, like, really cool that the guy that plays Nancy's father, I think that was really cool that they got him in that, because my dad actually had a book or something laying out on the table the other day, and it had him on the front of it, and I swear for the life of me I can't remember what it was. But oh well, I'll think of it eventually. But anyways, I now am a fan of the Freddy Krueger movies, and I just love all the hidden gems. If you want to know more about the Easter eggs that's in there, hey, go for it. Go YouTube. There's somebody up there that's got channels where they had just picked through the Easter eggs, and nothing is cooler than the Easter eggs of horror movies or video games. That's cool. Hidden gems are always awesome. I was disappointed that the actress that played Tina on Nightmare on Elm Street, I was kind of disappointed that her character got iced way early on in the movie, because, oh, and by the way, spoiler alert. So, well, I don't know, if you haven't seen Nightmare on Elm Street by now, yeah, you're way behind. At least I can say I saw it when I was like in my preteens, and I'm 35 now, so go figure. Well, she was one of them actresses, not actresses, one of them characters that I felt bad for when she got, cooked. I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't know. It's like very rare you cheer for the good guys in horror movies, but she was one that I just kind of felt really bad for. There's a lot of, I mean, I know why her character got cooked. It was, because she was engaging in relations with her boyfriend, premarital relations with her boyfriend. So, and the cross was not above her head like the night before. So, when she survived Freddy, I think that cross kept her safe, because religion plays a big part in the Freddy Krueger movies. And, so, yeah, I mean, there's videos that explain why, and, hints here and there and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, the cross kept her safe, which I thought was cool, but because she done what she done, she ended up getting, yeah. Okay, so, I mean, but what was funny to me was the fact that in the Nightmare on Elm Street movie was that after she was cooked, I mean, Freddy decorated the walls with this chick. Her boyfriend, poor fella, I felt bad for that boy. And, they should have known. I mean, I know his character was supposed to be like a thug, a bad boy, and stuff. But, I mean, come on. Them people ought to know. But I guess because of his track record, they probably thought, oh, yeah, he totally did take out his girlfriend. Like, nah, bro, ain't no one person can do all that damage. I mean, maybe a little bit, but not, yeah. Okay. Then another funny thing I wanted to add, but that's, like I said, I'm not I'm not like dissing the movie when I'm making these jokes. I mean, I am admiring it. It's just cool. That's what makes horror movies cool, you know? And for me, the other scene that makes me just completely say, okay, why? Is Nancy's boyfriend, which is Johnny Depp, who is like really cool and a lot of stuff. But anyway, Nancy's boyfriend, this dude has one job and he fails twice. Not once, but twice. It's like, how can you mess up twice? This dude is supposed to stay awake and he falls asleep. It's like, oh my God, dude, you are not reliable. Like, I think Nancy need to get a new boyfriend. Nah, I'm just kidding. But anyway, as we all know, you know, the Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger, there have been plenty of parodies of Freddy Krueger. And just recently, and this is funny, I was actually giving Rick and Morty, the TV show, a chance because I have never seen Rick and Morty before, even though I'm a huge child at heart. You know, and Rick and Morty, they were doing this dream thing, and long story short, you know, they got a Freddy Krueger thing going on in their parody, and this dude's name is, what was his name? Scary Terry. Like, oh my God. And what got me the most about that was, you know, the fact that they thought that they could escape Freddy by jumping into the dreams of the child playing jump rope. It's like, dude, that's not how entities work, because if you check out of this world in despair and misery and torture, you're going to be stuck in limbo. Therefore, the only thing that ghost knows is Freddy Krueger, because that's the last thing that child remembers. Okay? So it's like they never vanished to go anywhere. They just literally was just pop back up in Freddy's world. I'm like, dude, seriously. I mean, I get it, you're running away from, or let me say, Scary Terry. But yeah, it is Freddy. But it's like, yeah, if I saw Freddy Krueger coming after me in my dreams, the last thing I would want to do is try to jump in the dreams of a spirit of a person that he took out, because I would think that would not end well. It would just put me right back in the same spot. And also, I love the part that when Nancy, you know, the first time she gives her unreliable boyfriend one job, you know, she's, you know, dreaming, she's, you know, walking around the neighborhood, yada, 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 and she says, "Are you still there?" And, you know, he just pops out around the corner like, yeah. Like, in her dream, he literally pops around the bush and just goes, yeah. Well, that's probably not his exact words, but he might as well said it because the way his body language done it. So that was so cool. I could see that happening. Like, if I was dreaming, I could see something like that happening. Like, my friend would just pop up and just be like, yeah, I'm here, what's up? You know? So, yeah, I mean, you know, it kind of surprised me that, you know, that her dad was the only, Nancy's character's dad was the only one that seemed like a good parent. I feel like Nancy's mom was a total bad parent from the get-go. Like, she knows something's wrong, and she knows what she done and everything years ago. So, I mean, her child isn't having some repressed memory or anything. But I get it. It is a little fishy. In fact, you know, that's one thing I kind of, in all the Freddy movies, not just the first one, but I kind of wish that they would drag the story out a little bit longer, because I really don't feel like I mean, of course, I always, you know, analyze my dreams. I do that. I analyze everything. But I'm not going to sit there and analyze a dream as hard as Tina did, you know, right off the bat, like at the beginning of the movie. I mean, that would be the one thing I would change about it. Other than that, I don't think there's anything I would change about the Nightmare on Elm Street movie or movies ever in history, including, you know, I mean, but that's all the Freddy movies. The character analyzes one dream, you know, which, hey, I mean, you know, that's cool. They always start off, you know, having one bad dream and they keep thinking about it for days, and then then it starts, Freddy starts getting on the roll then, you know, because their fear keeps him alive, he's like a memory in your head. So, there's that. And, because, it's all tied to religion and everything, so it's all just, it's a whole long concept. Like I said, you'd have to watch some of the other Freddy videos about, like, YouTube content and stuff. So, but yeah, they got some great stuff out there where they're analyzing this stuff and can tell you how to beat Freddy. Me personally, I really don't see how you could beat Freddy unless maybe you, well, like Nancy did, turn your back on him in the first one, and so, but at the moment when she says, "You're not real, this isn't happening," you got to really believe what you're saying in order to stop this dude, because other than that, I don't see really, when I watched the How to Defeat Freddy Krueger video, and I watched a bunch of recap videos, I'm like, yo, I really don't see how you can defeat this dude, to be honest, because he's just everywhere. And, well, I wouldn't say, basically, he's everywhere, but there's no way, really, I don't think you can really defeat that dude. But, Freddy Krueger's an awesome, Nightmare on Elm Street's awesome. Just everything about it is, and I honestly, I think Wes Craven makes great movies anyway. If you ever watch any of his other work and you like it, then hey, you're a Wes Craven fan. I'm a fan of a lot of directors' works, and Wes Craven has always been one of them, even before I became a fan of Freddy Krueger. So there's that, And when I found out a lot of back history about why and how Wes Craven made Nightmare on Elm Street, and like I said, all the Easter eggs, to be honest, I thought that was pretty cool. He had a lot of interesting facts about that. And, there's one last thing I want to kind of say, is that, a lot of people say, and I used to always disagree with this statement, because a lot of these killers in horror movies, you can just put a mask on them and you can't tell who the heck they are, as long as their body type matches, Well, to be honest, I think Nightmare on Elm Street's one of those movies where nobody, not just a movie, but franchise, I feel like that Robert Englund is the only guy who can play Freddy Krueger. I think that if you cannot get Robert Englund to play Freddy ever again, that just don't make any more Nightmare on Elm Street movies, because they just can't be done without him. And hey, I got plenty of respect for the new Freddy movie. In fact, I'm going to make a video about my opinion about the remake. But this is one of those things where I'm going to have to agree with fans from around the world. Robert Englund is the only dude that can play Freddy. This role, he created this. Nobody can live up to that. That's him. All day long, this dude, yes, he should be remembered for his other works, even if they were short cameos in other movies, but still, nevertheless, nobody else can play this dude. Freddy Krueger will always be Robert Englund. Robert Englund will always be Freddy Krueger. Because if you try to replace him, you might can find a guy that looks like Robert Englund, especially when he was younger. And when you throw the makeup on, you can make this cat look like Freddy Krueger. Unless you can take the technology and change the voice, I don't know. But man, I don't think nobody can replace him. I think that I don't know, man. I don't know what kind of, I know we got a lot of technology nowadays. We can do all kinds of things that we couldn't do back then. We can create actors and actresses with technology, like recreate and make them look like spitting image of a movie that person played in years ago. But man, I just don't think that nobody can play Freddy Krueger, man. I just hate to say it. I mean, like I said, you can get anybody to play anybody else in a horror movie, you know, when it comes to monsters. When it comes to monsters, villains, you can get anybody else to play it. I mean, hell, even look at Return of the Living Dead franchise, which is another awesome franchise, by the way. Every one of them. But, I mean, you can get anybody to play Tarman. You can get anybody to play Leatherface, who I love. You can get anybody to play Jason, Ghostface, whatever. Anybody can put on a mask or makeup, appliances. But, man, I swear, you know, I mean, it'd be different, I guess, if, like, Freddy Krueger couldn't talk. You know, like, but this dude talks, and I don't know, man. I just feel like that maybe, I mean, even the body language, I don't think nobody can match up to Robert Englund. That dude is just, man, he took that role, and I just don't think that's a torch that can be passed. I'm sorry. I mean, I hate to say it. I hate to admit when I'm wrong, but you know, I used to think anybody can be replaced in a movie if it had to come to it, just because to keep a franchise going. And hey, I would love to see some more Nightmare on Elm Street movies, or at least maybe one more, you know, made. But man, I tell you, I just don't think nobody else can play Freddy Krueger. That's just my opinion. And like I said, now I remember the guy's name that played character Nancy's father, Donald Thompson, John Saxon. Yeah, I remember. Now let me get back to that. Yeah, he was really cool actor, you know, and he that dude, man, I just really think that when he was in it, you know, and I knew I seen him in something before when I watched Nightmare on Elm Street, but I couldn't place it to save my entire life until I saw that book that my dad had laying on the table. And like I said, now that part I cannot remember quite off the top of my head what book it was. But yeah, I like Nancy's father. You know, he seemed very supportive. Like, even when he didn't believe what she was saying, a part of him did. Now, as for her mom, sorry, but her mom was a bad mom. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, if you go in the dictionary and look up bad parents, there'd be a picture of her mom, for real. And, you know, that was one of them characters I was glad to see cooked. No pun intended. I'm not going to say, but you watch, you find out. Anyway, and I also want to say about how people have said in these YouTube videos they were not a fan of the ending of the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And I get it. I get why. I see why. But at the same time, hey, that ending was pretty cool even before I became a fan of the Freddy Krueger movies. That ending was pretty awesome. I mean, I know you're like saying, wait a minute, it looks like all they did was just pull a blow-up doll through a window. Okay, so what? It was the 80s with practical effects. Sometimes practical effects are great. Even cheesy effects are great. You know, sometimes it's just one of those things that it's cool, you know. The car with the hood coming down on it, I mean, yeah, that's a totally awesome thing. I thought that was cool. Even when I was a kid and saw that, I thought that was cool. I knew it was going to happen. Like, I could just look at that and tell you that was going to happen. And, so yeah, if you want to know more about Nightmare on Elm Street, what Wes Craven thought about making each scene, all the time, work, and effort put into it, and so forth and so forth. Easter eggs, as far as I can see. There's plenty of YouTube channels if you want to know how to defeat Freddy if you were in a scenario like this. Look them up. Like I said, you'll find some awesome stuff out there. I thought it was pretty cool during the sleep disorder scene when Nancy, um, when she woke up and she had the gray hair, when they were checking her out and stuff at that sleep disorder place. And I mean, because the reason why I think that's cool is because I always have heard about people being in movies or whatever, that if people got so scared or saw something so scary, their hair would turn white. So the fact that she ends up with a white streak in her hair, I thought how that was very creative. Okay, and so like another thing I wanted to point out that was kind of neat. I don't know if it's ever been mentioned in any of the videos of where you want to find out fun facts you never knew or anything, but when Nancy is watching Ash on the Evil Dead movie, I thought it was pretty cool because years later there'd be comic books of Ash versus Freddy versus Jason. So it was kind of like, prediction for the future. People always talk about like The Simpsons, creating a future. Predicting a future. I kind of feel like that they were predicting the future for Nightmare on Elm Street. So that was like really, really awesome. Um, okay, like another thing that I wanted to mention, and to me, I mean, I'm not bad mouthing it, okay? I'm just like, laughing at it on this part here. Like, what I found so funny and kind of ironic was, well, I wouldn't say ironic, I'd just say kind of funny. If you notice how, like, Nancy is trying her best to stay awake because she's already, paranoid as heck. Like, okay, so she is deciding to take a bubble bath. I mean, come on. I get it. You're stressed out, okay? I totally get that. I'd be stressed out too. I mean, Freddy Krueger would have created a whole new level of anxiety for me, if that was me in that situation. But a bubble bath? Girl, I thought the deal and the goal was for your booty to stay awake. And I mean, everybody knows that like 80% of the chicks, and probably dudes, that if they take a bubble bath, they're going to get really relaxed. And what happens when you get too relaxed? You go out like a light, okay? So I'm thinking to myself like, dude, I get it, you're stressed. But why would you take a bubble bath? If anything, you should have just took a shower. At least you'd probably be able to stay awake. I mean, yeah, I know if you go too long without sleep, you eventually will fall asleep standing up. I know, I've been there before, but I mean, it's been worth a shot, I mean, I get it. I'm a clean freak too. I gotta have my hygiene, my showers. But come on, girl, push come to shove, take a shower, take a shower, hey, I don't like to go without shaving. Okay, that's just me. But if I was going through that kind of problems and I knew for a fact it was more than just a nightmare and I won't reading too much into it, hey, just don't shave until you can figure out what the heck's going on and what you can do about it. Just get your quick shower, wash your faces normally and stuff, because, hey, that'll wake you up instantly. I mean, don't worry about shaving or primping or anything like that. I mean, I get it, looks are important, stuff like that, but hey, if this is like a life or death situation, wait for a few days about the shaving part, because that's just going to take up too much time. And that's what I would do. I'd been like, hey, I'm a clean freak. I don't like having hairy legs. But dang on, this is too much going on for me. I need to fight for my life. So, yeah, get in there, do your shower, get cleaned up really good, wash your face, your hair, whatever. But hey, don't be going all out and about, because right now you need to focus on something more than your looks if you can help it. Okay? I mean, that's just me. Put on some long pants. If you don't want anybody to see your hairy legs till you can figure this stuff out and have enough time then to shave them, you know? Okay? And the fact that her mama be like, she making her some warm milk. Dude, wasn't it implied in a SpongeBob episode that if you drink warm milk, you're going to go to sleep? I know SpongeBob came out way later, so, you know, I'm just saying. I'm using that as an example. Dude, don't drink warm milk, okay? Her mama is bad. I mean, for real. I know I can't have kids, but, dude, I mean, you're supposed to be a mom. You're supposed to be better than that. You know, if you know something's not right with your kids, I know you want them to sleep because you think that'll help, but come on, girl, you know something's wrong with your kid after this long. Okay, so, like, a thing I wanted to kind of point out that I can totally relate to in Nightmare on Elm Street. And this kind of goes for all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which, like I said, I'm going to kind of be reviewing each one per video since it's too much to cram into one. Is, you know how, like, every time in Nightmare on Elm Street, when they find out something's wrong, they try to fight to stay awake because they've gotten to the point they are too terrified to, like, you know, sleep. They don't even want to take a nap. And I could totally, like I said, this is why I can totally relate to it, you know. And every time I watch Nightmare on Elm Street now, I totally think of this incident that happened to me. And what it was back around December the 21st, I had got put on some new medication. And as a result, you know, I started having nightmares even when I would take a plain nap. And what sucked about that was that it got to a point, I mean, these were nightmares. I'm not talking about, like, no boogeyman chasing you. I'm talking about nightmares, like bad dreams about your friends getting not sliced, but, you know, checking out. Your friends checking out and your family members checking out and stuff. So it was, like, really upsetting. And I just swear I was so tired. And plus, I started to get sick. So I did not know if I was having fever dreams at first or if it was a side effect of the nightmare, the medicine. So I didn't know what to think. I had to go to the hospital, and I had to stay in the hospital for a while. Then I had to go back and forth to the emergency room. At one point, I mean, I literally spent Christmas and my birthday sick as a dog. And what sucked is, you know, the whole time it was the medication. While the medication did do what it said it would do, as advertised on TV, but the side effect was nightmares. And that won't even list it up there on the commercials. So I had a hard time getting up my doctor and telling them, hey, you know, the doctor that prescribed me the medication, I was like having a hard time trying to get up with her about that problem while taking care of this pneumonia I had, and it was even in my lungs and stuff. So like I said, I had no idea if I was experiencing what Louise Belcher was experiencing on that episode of Bob's Burgers called Louise. Man, I didn't know. I mean, I heard about fever dreams, but I didn't know that was real, you know, because I never had one before. But I found out that it was the medication. But trying to fight to stay awake is not as easy as it looks. Like in Nightmare on Elm Street, you're watching it. If you've never been in a situation where you were fighting to stay awake because you were too upset, you got tired of having nightmares, you were like, Jesus Christ, I want to go to sleep. I want to close my eyes for 5 seconds. But I'm scared if I so much as close my eyes, you know, I'm going to have a nightmare. I'm going to get upset. So every time I watch Nightmare on Elm Street and it gets to the part of each one and each sequel and the original, man, I just totally cannot help but think about that. I mean, that was a long time before, and excuse my dog's little piddle-paddle feet, her walking around. Girl, you better get your little anxiety self still. And I mean, she's going bonkers because my grandma left and went to town. And when my grandma leaves, or if I leave the house, she starts to get anxious and pitter patter throughout the house. She's a goofball. I love her, man. That's my best friend. But anyway, yeah, about what I was saying. The medication, man, like it worked like a charm, but like I said, it's a nightmare. So when I confronted my doctor about it, my doctor, which is something else that was kind of mentioned in the Freddy movies, you know, there was medications you could take to, well, not dream. Well, my doctor that prescribed me the medicine, she was like, well, we can give you this medication to help you not have nightmares, and you can still take this current medication and get the help you need without having to worry about every time you close your eyes you're having nightmares. So she checked my vitals and everything, and she said, well, we can't do that because we even look at your charts. You all the time have low blood pressure, which I always have. So, you know, we couldn't do that route. And she wanted to put me on some more medication. And I was like, no, dude, like, no, I can't deal with it. No, I don't want to take no more risk. I'd rather just take the medication I'm on and just, I don't want to risk having any more side effects like that last one. That was too long to have to deal with side effects. So, because like I said, once I realized it was the medicine once I got better, and they were able to save my life at the hospital, just, you know, to cure me from the pneumonia. And so, like I said, I every time I watch Nightmare on Elm Street, I think of that time, you know, of these nightmares. And I think about the struggle of fighting to stay awake just to avoid nightmares, like being afraid to take a nap. Like, one last thing. When I went to the emergency room one time when I was dealing with this pneumonia in my lungs, oh my God, let me begin to tell you. Look, I had fought so hard to stay awake. I actually took, without trying, there's a lot of different types of sleep disorders, and I have, I think, like 1 or 2 different kinds. Anyway, I dozed off, and I didn't realize I had dozed off. And I was only like dozed off for maybe apparently like 20 minutes, because these nurses come in there, and as soon as they come in there, I open my eyes, and from the nightmares, I opened my eyes. That's when I realized, oh crap, I fell asleep. And my eyes were about to pop out of my head from being so in shock. I had sweated. I had tears running down my face the whole time. And and at the time I had to go have a scan done. And when the whole time, you know, the nurses are trying to calm me down, because I'm freaking the heck out. As soon as I opened my eyes, I started freaking out. And I called my dad as soon as they got done doing the scan and on my lungs. So as soon as I got back in there and they put me back in my room, I called my dad on my cell phone. I said, dude, I don't know how much longer they're going to keep me. I'm still waiting on the doctor, you know, to tell me the 411. I did not get out of there until about 5 o'clock. So, wow. I mean, like I said, but yeah, I get it. I mean, when you're watching a horror movie and you've experienced a situation like that before, man, that's all you think about when you watch it. So, yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, oh my God, if that was real and I had to go through that, I know I wouldn't last long in a Freddy Krueger movie, man.